And on the line with us today, we have Pastor Carey N. Ingram. And we're going to be discussing his amazing book, Rearing Children in a Postmodern World. Now, it's available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com. But people, there's another book that Pastor Ingram has written that I want you to check out as well. And that one is called Steps Towards Abundant Living, A Christian Perspective. Both of which are available again for purchase through Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. And of course, today is all about rearing children in a postmodern world. So that's really the anchor, and that's what we're going to focus on. But before we go any further, I do want to point out that Pastor Ingram was brought to our network by some of the best publishers in the business, Stellar Literary Press and Media Publishing. So if you or anyone you know have a book that they'd like moved, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give. Contact Stellar and have their fantastic team move it for you. And you can find out more information on them at stellarliterary.com. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have the pastor here on the line with us. This is a book I promise you're going to want to add to your shelf because the information that you're going to be able to find within it is second to none. Okay, the education is real, and at the end of the day, we have Pastor Ingram to thank for it because he's the expert. He's written the book, he's done the research, and he's going to be able to articulate everything much better than I ever could. So let's bring him here with us, okay? Pastor, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
Fine, and thank you for having me, Mr. Cole.
Likewise. Listen, the pleasure is all ours. Okay, we're really looking forward to this. I think what you've embarked upon here is profound and wonderfully timed. You know, as I said during my intro, Pastor, I think it's a scary time just to be living, but especially to raise children. And I think what you're doing here is wonderful. And it's a pleasure to have you on our network and to be able to showcase this. Now, before we go into the book, because I think it's important to start by learning a little bit more about your background. Pastor, please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, thank you, sir. First of all, I want you all to know that I am blessed to be the husband of a sweet lady named Judy Ingram. We've been married for 47 years, and I have 3 awesome children, 5 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. I've been a pastor for over 44 years and 35 years at one church here in Rome, Georgia, the Lovejoy Baptist Church. And in my free time, I enjoy naturally writing, traveling, and going to the YMCA working and golfing from time to time. So I have a good life. God's been good to me.
There you have it. There you have it. People, can we just stop by acknowledging that he has had a marriage well over 40 years and how he started off by thanking his wife. Now, that is a smart man right there. That is a man that is very well versed in the all of the facets of being married, right? Because you got to start off by thanking her. I mean, she's the foundation, right? And that's a beautiful thing. We love it here. And there's no surprise to me why the marriage has lasted so long. Because if you're starting that way, well, you're doing something right. Pastor, thank you again. Welcome to the network, and nothing but continued success to you and what sounds like a beautiful family that you've surrounded yourself with. And without further ado, rearing children in a postmodern world. Tell us a little bit more about your book.
All right. The book is my desire to reach and teach parents, not only parents, but teachers, mentors, any young adults, to encourage them that we can and we must bring about changes that will give our children now and for generations to come better life. In light of all the things that are happening that you made mention of in our society today, there is a slogan that I love. It goes like this: our children will be what they see. So we must set good examples and be positive and bring our children up in the admiration of what is good and positive.
I love that. I love that. You know, Pastor, switching gears here, let's take a step away from the book for a second. Let's talk about inspiration. Were there any artists that inspired you?
There was one, but let me give you just a little background. First and foremost, I had three local mentors in my life growing up. I come from a single parent dwelling as well, but I had one church superintendent and one principal and one pastor who influenced my life in such a way that as I was involved with them, I wanted to be like them. And they certainly made an impact in my life. However, if I could name one public and famous artist who truly did indeed influence my life from the time I could understand people making an effect on my life, it would be Stevie Wonder. I did not know his story until now or in recent years, or know his story as I do now. But he inspired me because here was a musician and a singer who taught himself how to use instruments. And even though he was blind from birth, that is a story. And not only that, but the stories in his song touch me deeply. And even to this day, he influences me. And so if you ever need someone to come with his permission to be Stevie Wonder, I promise you I can be him. I imitate him all the time, having fun. He has really influenced my life as a public person, but and that might seem out of bounds, but it's the truth. He was the one, him and the other local mentors that did that. Thank you.
There you have it. Well, listen, Pastor, you opened the door, so I'm walking through it, okay? And next time we have you on the network, I'm going to ask for that impression because now I'm intrigued. And, of course, there's no place for it during today's interview, so we're going to leave that for next time. But you opened the door, I'm walking through it, man. Sticking with inspiration here. But now honing it back into the book, Pastor, what type of inspiration helped you create the narrative for this book?
All right, good. I'll go right back to where I was. Let me first say again, speak of my own upbringing. I came from a single parent dwelling. I didn't know my father. I taught him from time to time, but he wasn't in my life. I lost my mother to cancer when I was 16 years old. But I had what we call a praying grandmother. And she taught me how to believe in myself. She saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. So much so that because of her ability to take a stand, and she had maybe 3 or 4 rules. Number 1, you're going to make good grades at school. Number 2, you're going to church every Sunday. And number 3, you're going to be home before 11 o'clock. And I promise you, I'm home before 11 o'clock now. But the good part, here's the good part. Here's the blessing of that. Because of that, I was able to make good grades in school. Mm-hmm. And I played basketball, so I earned a basketball scholarship. After I got out of my first year of college, I joined the Air Force because I wanted to get away from my community. I wanted to do something different. Because of that, when I got out of the military after 1 tour of duty, came back to this area, I went to 2 schools and it cost me absolutely nothing. All of my formal education, and I have a master's degree and I've been to seminary, none of my degrees cost me 1 penny. That to me is awesome. Wow. So it's from that background, my own personal background. Then I can add to that the fact that for more than a decade, I have taught a class in the National Baptist Congress of Christian Education, and the title of that class is Ministering to Hurting Children. And this led me to seek material to form. I didn't know it would form, but it did lead me to form this book. And not only that, I was exposed to special need children. I was a special needs children teacher for about 8 years, and I was honored and challenged to teach and mentor behavior disordered children. And I promise you, to get to know them, to grow in a relationship with them, you have to learn to love them where they are. And I learned to reach out to them and to help them. And that is the narrative. That is what prompted me to write what I learned, what I've come to realize about children of all dimensions, different type of children, how to help them to learn and grow.
Mm-hmm. People, again, we're here on the line with Pastor Carey N. Ingram. We're discussing his amazing book, Rearing Children in a Postmodern World. That's available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com. Pastor, next question that I'd love to get into, and listen, people, I just mentioned it, okay? If you want to gather all of the information, you know where you got to go, okay? You got to purchase the book. But since I have you here on the line, I want to take this opportunity, as if my listening audience needs more of an incentive. But I want to pick your brain a little bit and find out any tips that you can offer any parents listening in right now to this, because I know that this book is primarily geared for parents, teachers, really anybody that is taking part in that upbringing, process. So any tips that you can offer them on how to go about it?
Oh, sure. Yes, sir. Let me say this first. And again, this is just one of these things that I have in my heart that I like to share from time to time. I'm not the originator of it, I'm sure, but I say it all the time. And it's this: children are a gift from God. What we do with that gift or with that child is our gift back to God. So I'm saying to parents, grandparents, relatives, mentors, teachers, pastors, and all others, we must learn to meet children where they are. Think about this: billions of people on the planet Earth, and not a one of them are the same. And according to a child's rearing or his lack thereof, helps us to understand why children and young people do what they do and act the way they act. Negative or positive behavior, to me, is a learned behavior. The more we invest in them, the better they will be. The more they come to understand the challenges and learn the ability to succeed in achieving goals in life without breaking the law or hurting people, it makes them better and certainly our society better. It's learning how to be patient, but look for ways to make a difference in the child's life. You can set them on the path of connecting positively with others and achieve the goals that they want to achieve for themselves. Remember, there's a proverb, and I love it. Proverbs 22:60 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he shall not depart from it. And I am that example, and I'm glad that I can say that.
Pastor, what is one thing that you really want our audience here, through people of distinction, to take from today's interview?
I want us to inform society of the problem that our youth are facing and suggestions of what we can do to change the downward course that we're traveling. People, and especially parents today, must be aware of what our children, ages teens and teenagers, are facing in today's society. From concerns for their parents, here again, that was something that I dealt with, having a single parent and then to lose my mom like that. A lack of funds. So many children live at and below the poverty level and can't do simple things like go to the movies. Questioning, in these days and times, they question their gender. Wow. Understanding what is right and what is wrong. And the rationale behind gangs. Parents need to understand that so many times children get involved in gang activity because no one else is loving on them. And a gang group sometimes gives them the sense of you are loved, you are cared for, you are important, you can make a difference, you are special. It's amazing how I came to realize that. I want people to be informed about, and I'm sure we all know the gun violence and unfortunately racism in some areas. the fact that obesity can be detrimental to children, especially if they grow up like that and their health declines. And nowadays, they're dealing with all kinds of anxiety, sickness and diseases, and depression is very real. Suicide is upward, even in young children now, and that's just hard to believe. That's what I want the people of Distinction to know.
Switching gears here again, Pastor, we know about your past. We know about this fantastic book. Well, I'm focusing now on the future. What's upcoming for you, Pastor? Please tell me there's another book on the horizon.
Well, let me say this. I must do something, because what would life be like if all of us sat back and did nothing? What would life be like a decade from now if we don't reach out and do some positive things and influence our children and the people around us? So right now, I am blessed to be a newspaper columnist for our local newspaper here, the Rome News Tribune here in Rome, Georgia. I release an article once a month, a religious article of my choice or whatever I want to talk about. I have that liberty to address any subject. But the next book that's in my heart that I want to write is my story, how I made it to this point, the ups, the downs, the trials, the tribulation. Mm-hmm. Yet, there's probably not maybe one or two things I would change in my life if I could go back and change it. And it was some mistakes that I made, because in spite of all that I have been through, I truly can say that it's been an awesome life, and I want to share it with someone that they might be encouraged. Yes, sir.
Last question here for you, Pastor. As I mentioned to you on the pre-screening call, I'm an artist myself, and I love having this platform and really finding opportunities whenever they present themselves, of course, to pay it forward, in a sense, to other artists out there listening in. Now, in this instance, other writers out there. Now, you are someone that has been through the process. You've written your narrative, but you've also gone through the gauntlet of getting it published. And anybody that's been through the process understands that writing the book is only half the battle. But I want to take this opportunity to steal any words of wisdom from you, Pastor. For any new writers out there listening in, what are some advice or words of wisdom that you can offer them about the journey they're getting ready to take?
All right, that's awesome. And I do know that there are some guys, and well, I say guys, I mean ladies and gentlemen out there that have something in there. So the first thing I would say is that if you're thinking about writing a book, you must have a passion for whatever it is in your mind that you want to write about. It has to stand out above everything else that you're dealing with as far as what you're thinking and doing in life. Get as much on-hand experience as you can about the subject. Do your research. There's nothing wrong with getting other people's opinions, trains of thought, other local artists and writers who have done what you've done on that particular subject. And then, so research your subject matter until you feel well informed about it, to the point that then you can write and speak about it from your heart. I'll tell you something else that I've done. I've always considered, before writing a book, having a group discussion, seek other people's opinion on the subject matter. Seek not only professional input, but your friends and your cohorts, their information, their advice and their opinion as well, because it's not always the person who's, how do I say it, who's a published writer, who's on top of the world about things. Sometimes it's that person right next door, and your train of thought, they can give you so much information about it because perhaps they're going through what you're thinking about or what you are dealing with. So that's my encouragement. First and foremost, you must have a passion for it. It must be really something in your heart that you want to do something about.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And people, you know what I love even more? Is we're at the end of the interview now. We've discussed so much information pertaining to the pastor's book, and yet somehow we've barely scratched the surface. I'm telling you, you got to pick up your copy. Amazon and Barnes & Noble are where you have to go. Rearing Children in a Postmodern World is the title you have to pick up. And Pastor Carey N. Ingram is the author you have to thank for bringing it to your table. Make sure when you head on over there, you pick up copies of his other book as well, Steps Toward Abundant Living, a Christian Perspective. You surely will not be disappointed, people. I'm telling you, this is an incredibly valuable resource to add to your shelf, an even better gift to add to someone else's. So you know where to go. Head on over there today. Pastor, this has been an absolute pleasure. Such an honor. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.